Hey, welcome back everybody to today's coding session. Again, in this series, I am documenting basically my 2 hours a day of coding. And I'm just want to show you guys my progress day to day. And my hope is that you'll become inspired and maybe also perhaps put in your 2 hours per day. And I do believe that putting in this amount of time every single day, it does add up to a lot of days eventually, and it adds up to a lot of progress in your coding journey. So for today, let's just get started. We usually start with reviewing some comments from other users or on our previous videos. However, today we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. So yesterday we left off here, so we're making this networking application. So let's go ahead and give ourselves change the directory over to our project that we're working on. Okay, and give ourselves a server, a development server. So run server. And let's see. So I have a problem here of user profile. Yeah, let me just take this out of here for now. I think this is what we're up to. We're going to start working on it in a second. And let me see. Yeah, so we have this bit of an issue here that it's giving us a bunch of errors, and I see they're related to new models that we made yesterday. So before we can open up a new server, we actually have to migrate the models. So to do that, we just go in here, Python, manage.py, make migrations. And I guess that's good enough. And Python manage.py migrate. I don't think it did anything. Let me try running the server again. I'm not sure it actually ran here. No, it didn't work. So let's try this again. I'm just gonna review here for a second. So we have our follower followed. Yeah, I think a big problem could be here that we have the same name for the model as one of its fields. So let's just I'll change that up. And let's try again. So Python make migrations. We're getting a bunch of yeah, 1 second. We're getting a bit of an issue here. So it's telling us that our network followed would be over here. The reverse accessor user dot follow set clashes with, why is that? Yeah, so I think we might need to add a related name over here, a related name argument. So let's just say how to, let's go into the bot already. So that's cs50 .ai, login. How do I add a related name argument to a model in Django? Yeah, so I think that the issue we're running into here is because we have two fields in our new model here that both are a foreign key of user. So it could be a little bit confusing for Django to manage that. So let's just add here, I guess, a new follow. So for this user, this would be like the following. Okay, so let's add a related name equals following. Meaning like user dot following, and this would be like followed by. Yeah, so that will be that. Let's try it again. I guess over here, that's an optimization we can do here as well. Let me see here. So a new post. And like post owner here, yeah, we could do an optimization already over here. We'll write related name is equal to post. That way we can just look it up by user.posts. I guess that's also an optimization. Let's try this again. Python. Let's try to consolidate all of our changes. So Python manage py. Make migrations. And yeah, and you can see here. Yeah, okay. And you can see here that it looks like it worked. So let's try migrating them now. And I think, we did get a bunch of errors here in the yellow, which is not such a big deal. They all have to do about auto assigning a new key. So, and we did get an okay over here. It seems like our migrations were applied correctly. Let's try running the server now. So Python manage py run server. Yeah, so it looks like all this worked. Let's see if we go there now. Yeah, we can see that we have all our posts here. So this is the home page. And if we click on a user, this is what we did yesterday. It'll give us the user profile with all of those users' posts. Now, how we are getting all these posts, again, we are at the moment getting them using this code that is loading up all the post objects where the owner equals the user ID. I'm sure there's probably another way of doing it, maybe even a better way, but for now it works. So let's just leave it the way it is. And a shout out to Hope. Hello, how are you? Well, hello, how are you? Hope is something that we never want to lose. It's something we always want to have. We always want to have hope. Don't let anything get us down. That's for sure. Because I do think that our stream is still working, but it almost feels like I was getting some kind of error here with the streaming, but it seems like it's fixed itself. Guys, okay, so we finished this over here. Now we do want to have some type of, I feel like we're missing something. Let's see what the spec said. Yeah, network. Yeah, so the profile page, right? It should use the user's profile page. This page should display number of followers the user has, as well as the number of people that the user follows. So this is what we're up to basically. We've already set this up. So we already got here our user IID. I do believe that our users route is what we're loading here. Let's see the JavaScript. Yeah, so we're loading up something called users / the user ID, and that in itself, that URL specifically is calling the view users. So if we go to the users view, which is not here, our users view, this is the logic that we're writing to handle our server response. And so we're basically up to this part here, display number of followers the user has, as well as the number of people that the user follows. So I would write that over here, and then I would add that down here. So we have data, which is like the data, all the posts. And then in that JSON response, we're also going to be returning something called user data, which is going to include all this other information of things that are not posts. Fine. So again, followers very easily is going to be followers is equal to and then I would say we have to run some type of database query here, and which would be follow dot objects dot filter. What are we filtering by? We are filtering by anywhere where the followed, and again, this is inserting here like a user object. So we have to, if we're looking by followed, right, that's the number of users the user has. So he's followed by. So followed would be, we want to get all the follow objects where this user is followed. So the followed equals, and what do we need to, what should that be equal to? To user object. And so where's the user object? It's right here. It's this user ID. Sorry, that's just the user ID, but then we have our desired user over here, which we've already loaded up. So we're just going to input that over there. So we copy that, we paste it here. And so that'll give us a list of the total of all the follow objects, which is really all these people are following him. A list, an array, whatever you want to call it. And so that'll give us an array, but then what we need to do is we just want the number. So I guess we could do that over here. We could just type in here followers, or we could put it in a separate, we could totally put that in like a separate array and then handle that in the front end, whatever it is. There's obviously, I can think of already of at least 3 different ways to implement this, but a possible way is just to type in here followers. So we're just passing that list. But again, we don't want the list. We just want to know how many. So we just run this length method on that list, and it'll give us just an integer with the total number. So this data is so this data here is dealing with our posts, but we need to do something else to deal with our user information, right? Now, because so again, there's at least 3 different ways of doing this. Like for example, we need it somewhere in our front end to store how many followers the user has, how many people he's following, maybe even some information about the follow on follow. So that would probably mean that we need a few variables up here to keep track of that, or we could just have one and pass to it an array, aka a Python list. So that's also an option. So instead of returning here this, we could just package that inside of a list. Okay. I guess similar to how we did with these posts. So you see, we put all our data response is really a list. We inject into it every single post. That's what this is. And then when we return, we're returning data response, which is really this list here that contains all. So we could do something similar. Obviously, we would have to handle that, which we are here, right? We're using this method called .map to iterate through every single post inside of that array. Fine, we could do something like that, or we could just zoom into the actual array. Whatever the story is, I'm leaning more towards digressing to what I wrote here, and then just trying to just pass a whole array, very similar to what we are doing with the posts. What that means for us is that we would need to store all of this. Let me see here. We would need to store all of this in our data response. Okay, and so if you guys give me a minute, I'm gonna see. Yeah, so I might even be digressing a little bit more. I don't think we need to pass on an array here. I think we need to pass on here a dictionary. Basically, a dictionary that contains some additional user information. So let's just go ahead and start building that. So let's give ourselves an empty dictionary. We're going to call it user details, because why not? Okay, and then these user details will be an empty dictionary. And then what we could do is we could start adding things to it. So obviously that's eventually what we're going to pass down here. Okay, but now that we have now we have our total, our followers here. I don't really care. I'm just gonna put in here. So I'm running that method there all together in one line. Basically, this will give us an integer, and I definitely want to add this to our dictionary now. So how do I go ahead doing that? I actually don't remember. It's been a while since I did that. I'm just gonna ask the chat here how to do it. How to add how to add data to a dictionary in Python. And so literally, we don't even need to write this followers variable here. We just put that right away into the dictionary. So it would be user details, details of followers, user details of followers is equal to whatever the spit out of this is, which is an integer. Right now, it's probably going to be be 0, but eventually we'll build that out better. Yeah, so it'll be user details of followers. That's giving us an integer, but we need a little bit more data now, right? So we need to also add we also want to put in there, let's see, user details. Our user, let me just type in here, user details or user data, whatever you want to, it doesn't matter what you name it. But the user details here will be, right? So we have followers. We also want to have following, right? So so this user is following other people, kind of like Twitter, I guess, or whatever social media you use. User details of following is going to be very similar. It's going to be the length of whatever the response for this server query is. So we want to find out the follow dot objects dot filter, where our follower, I believe it's what we called it, where our follower is equal to our desired user. Again, we're still working with that same user that we got at the very top here, and we are getting that from the user ID that is being submitted to our route, and we have written some logic here that user ID is whatever is submitted after users /. Fine. So I think this is getting us a little bit more towards our end goal here. So we have user details of whatever, followers, user details of following. And again, this is returning a JSON response, but it'll give us a dictionary over there. Let me ask here. I would like an empty dictionary. Let me see again. I wonder if this is correct code or if we could just use empty brackets. Let's see, state. So this is what I'm trying to obtain, but I don't know what we even need to write that in. So I'm just gonna ask in React, is this code okay? So I think this is part of, because we are writing a const here, we have to, when we declare, we have to define the type. So this is correct code. And then all we got to do now is, again, we are pinging, although that's not the right word. We are requesting a get response from the server here. And what we're getting back basically is this JSON response that has this here. So our data.data, we are already saving that information. Again, this becomes the data. So the .data would be this. And then eventually data.user details, we would need to save that up here. And in order to do that, we write in here Instead of user profile, I'm going to call this a little bit more user friendly, user details, just to keep it consistent. And then what we're going to do is we want to run this method or function. Set details, and then we want to pass through it data dot user details. And again, this says data dot data. I don't know, but I do think we are back online here. Sorry about that. Lost the connection for a second. You know, this is part of the thing here that like even when I don't feel like coding, even when I'm not in the most comfortable location, I still try to show up and I still try to do my best. So that's definitely part of the whole story here that we're trying to put together. And fine, so let me see here. Yeah. So as I was saying, I do believe that we have completed most of our requirements for this homework.